Do you see? Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting. It's November 12th, 6 o'clock, and it's nice to have you all here. We'll have a Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Haymore.
All stand. Join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Harrison, would you give us a prayer, please?
Of course. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, to gather here tonight as a planning commission, and those that are in attendance, we're grateful for them for attending. We're grateful for those who have put in time and effort in preparing for this meeting. We ask that thy spirit be with us, that we'll be able to make wise decisions for our great city and for the citizens who reside here. And these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Okay. Anyone else want to make a declaration or anything? Okay. Any disclosures or declaration of conflicts from any of the commission members?
No.
Okay. And I need someone to make a motion to approve the agenda order.
I move that we approve the agenda order.
I second it.
Okay, and a vote?
Aye.
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 Okay. Did you guys have a chance to review the minutes from last month?
Yes.
There's only one mistake I found, and it says, page 2, it says, Commissioner Levitt made a motion to open the public meeting. It should say close the public meeting.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll take a motion to approve those with that change.
I'll make a motion to approve last agenda with that change.
I
Second it.
Okay? And
Aye.
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 Okay. Reports. Any reports that any commissioners need to make?
I have one.
Oh,
Go ahead. You first, ladies first.
I was just going to say I attended the Housing Action Coalition's forum, and they had a lot of really great information on affordable housing, some upcoming programs that the state is considering to help with it. So it was a good meeting.
Huh. Okay.
I registered for the symposium on that, and I wasn't able to attend, but I do have the packet, and I've been reviewing that. So good information in there.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Emily, do you want to? Okay. And Darren?
I just have a couple of real quick items. Mostly I start out with the just some damage that was done. I think the greatest damage that we had to the city was in our park down at Trail Ridge Estates. So you can kind of see this was the day after. We can just whip through these fairly quickly. The biggest part was down there on that south end, and underneath the trees, we lost some, the Frisbee golf and there was a few picnic tables that we had to recover, but, we're doing a lot more cleanup. Let's keep on going down through a couple of the photos. That could just kind of, you can see some of the damage. This is the day, like I say, is the day after. The water went pretty high. In one of the cleanup pictures I've got on the other side of that bridge, that walking bridge, you can see where the water went up into a little drainage area where they didn't say it. We kind of thought that, yeah, there's no way it's going to get that high ever. And kind of interesting. But the crews have cleaned up those burrito wrapped, they're basically the rocks and gravel and the landscape rock, and they've gotten rid of most all of that. They're doing a pretty speedy cleanup. It's still wet on that. So right there's that photo. You can see that on the north side of that bridge, the water backed up that far. And, the homeowners association and ourselves, I didn't think it'd ever get that high, but it sure did. So anyway, you can see here's a little bit of the start of the cleanup on that south end. They got in there. They've done a bunch of the, like I said, they've cleaned up a lot of the debris. They've fixed some of the, picnic tables, a few things such as that, but it still is pretty darn wet. They get in there with the equipment and they just sink right up to the axles, and they just don't want to destroy. So they're waiting a little bit for that to dry out. We'll see what the storms that are coming bring. With moisture wise and things, you can see like that's one of the tables that's recovered. A little bit of cleanup, and so it's going to take a few months to get us back to normal a little bit, and it's probably even going to be a little while longer to get that. The next one is our park over at Westfield Road. We've added 5 additional little pavilion areas per the plans that we've had. They'll be coming in. We're going to be getting some bids on doing concrete work and doing some more of that excavation work. The other photos are just a little bit closer, or from the other side, and then a little closer. You can see those. I don't know if you've been out there. If you want, you can go out and take a look. But the Westfield Park is progressing along as we get the money and continuing on. This is my last photo in this series, but this is just above the Boulder Ridge subdivision. So where you see that big pile of dirt on the right, almost center of the photo, is one of your agenda items tonight. Obviously, they're still in the process of building the subdivision. They've got the storm drain in right now, most of the storm drainage, and they've still got some pretty decent grading to do. You can, on the left side, you can see a trench that they've dug there. That is part of the water line, and that is underneath that road that goes from east to west. And so there's 2 other roads that head to the north that they've still got to build as well. But they are progressing along at a pretty good pace. They started doing the actual culinary water last week, and that's kind of where we're at this point on that project. You can in the distances you can see the IME automation right there. They're still moving forward slowly, and then you've got the reservoir. You can kind of see that a little bit, and then also the Sapp Brothers right there in the center, still moving forward.
Wall today up there
On the Sapps, they did what? I'm sorry.
They put the first concrete wall up.
Oh, on IME.
Yeah.
Okay,
On
cool. Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So all the projects are working along pretty good there. The next one is there's a folder in there. I just kind of wanted to show you. This was 1 year ago in November last year and this is basically Firelight. So the next one is them coming in. This was a few months later. They had most everything finished, and they started building that one home up there in the top left corner. It progressed just for a couple of months there to be about the same. Not much change. Then we got the water line online, and houses started to go up pretty quickly. The very last, or there's two more photos. You can see it a little bit. This was a couple of months ago, and this last photo is it was like 2 weeks ago. And so you can see their their little pocket park has came along very nicely. You can see the houses are starting to come out pretty quick, and we're receiving more building permits almost every week. So probably some weeks we get 2, other weeks we get 4. So
At least
they'll
it's
be
not
bringing
900.
someone. No, we're not getting 900. That's nice. Yeah, very well. We're a Firelight. We're glad they're not. That's a little bit much for the staff we have.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
far out from occupancy are we out there?
I do not know for sure, but that I was told that the second house to the south of the first house that was there, they've been taking earnest money on them, I think, or something to that effect. I'm not sure 100%.
It's under
So
contract then.
yeah, I noticed that they do have some of them on the MLS.
Yeah, they do.
So there are a few of them that are getting pretty darn close. So anyway, that's pretty much mostly what I have. The bypass road, as you can see, they're just about finishing up the guardrail on the cement barriers on the sides. They were supposed to actually stripe and open that bottom end, the south end, today. I'm not exactly sure what happened that prevented them from doing that. I noticed the wall is not quite complete, or the crash guard on the south side. So I would assume that's probably part of that.
Wow.
But things are going pretty good. The signs, there's a bunch of signs that UDOT is changing around and adding to the project. Everything from speed limits to stop ahead, and changing the speed limit signs to the correct speeds.
Yeah.
So
So are they gonna put some grade signs coming down for those truckers? I see there's no grade.
yeah,
That's
so
a pretty
UDOT
steep-
has a division of the signs, and a sign division. They went through, and I have not seen that final signage list. So I would assume we're still going to see signs going up here for the next couple, probably month, might even be into January, because from what I understand, some of those are a month out. Some of the signs that they've ordered, the new ones, but I don't know about a grade sign.
They can't get a temporary, because man, those trucks and they coming down, I think.
They hit their J
That's a
brakes.
long grade and it's pretty steep.
Yeah. And so what I do though is I leave that up, because it's kind of UDOT's thing of what they're doing. So we're leaving that to them right now, without doing an independent study of any sorts on that.
Sure hope
So-
we don't have an accident in the truck world.
How
Me too.
does that grade compare to the Tokerville Boulevard grade? Because
Well, Tuckerville Boulevard's pretty fat.
Yeah.
well, no, but I mean going down into the
Going
canyon
down,
there.
so coming out of from Shangri-La up to the top there on that south end is about an 8% grade. I think the one going out when you get on the north side of town, which is a steeper one of the old highway, or
Yeah.
still Highway 17. Now I'm just giving you guesstimates. I'm not exact on these. They were probably roughly about 6 to 7% on that one.
and,
so-
and the new parkway is,
And the new parkway, that's the steepest slope, is that one from Shangri-La up to the top. And the north one, I don't know exactly.
oh, so that's 8% going from Shangri-La up.
Yeah.
But what is the old boulevard going down into the canyon there? Because I'm
Going
thinking
down
that,
right now as you get past, because it changes grade. The old
The old
grade-
highway.
The old highway was about 6%.
okay, so the new one is
It's
steeper.
it's about 2 or 3 degrees per percentage greater.
Yeah.
It feels a lot
Straight
more.
up.
That's just roughly, because I don't know the exacts on these. I've been looking, I saw the plans on the new design, so that's the only way I know that. So, anyway,
Okay. Is that it, Darren?
that's all I have, unless anybody has something for me.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd just like to thank all the volunteers that went in and helped after the flood. We had hundreds of volunteers go in there and work numerous times per week,
Yeah.
cleaning up. And I think the residents really appreciated it and couldn't got done without the volunteers
Yeah.
of the community.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, should we move on? We'll move on to business item E1, discussion and possible recommendation on an MPDO concept plan submitted by American Consulting and Engineering on behalf of Babylon Lands LLC for tax IDs T31-4-230 and T-3-1-4-231 and T-3167. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the Devil's Hole area, which we did a zone change for recently. Tonight, we're just doing a conceptual review of their master plan development overlay zone. And just as a quick refresher, the MPDO zone is meant for projects that work better with a more flexible approach to development. In this case, they're showing us that even though this doesn't fit 100 acres, which is typically our minimum, that the property has unique physical features that make the MPDO a better fit for it than a standard subdivision would. Our MPDO allows for clustering, a mixture of housing developments, and then some commercial uses, while still making sure that we keep it in line with the general plan and the character of the surrounding area. The goal in their case, I think, and I'll let them present this, but is to make a more efficient use of the land while also preserving open space. And then it allows us freedom to get higher quality design or other amenities that we would want. Tonight, we're in the conceptual approval stage, which is the first of 3 steps in the MPDO process. This stage, like I said in your agenda item sheet, is really focusing on the overall concept, things like the proposed uses and the density and general layout of the area. The next 2 stages, the preliminary and final, will get more into the detailed design, engineering, and there'll also be public hearings for public input at those stages. Tonight, we're going to try to have you focus on the 3 different standards for review for an MPDO. So we're going to look at the standards for review for a zone change, because this is a type of zone. These are those 9 criteria that we look at every time we have a zone change. I have them pulled up there just as a refresher. And then also there's general requirements in our MPDO code for what an MPDO should have. So we'll look at some of those tonight. Some of them may be a little premature to be included in the conceptual plan, but we still should be taking a high-level review of them. And then the checklist that I sent you is the conceptual checklist. So we found when reviewing it in more detail that we were missing a few things. I did mention that in my agenda item sheet. A couple of them have been received, but were not in your packet. So any motion, if you make one, should be conditional upon those being received and included in the packet. I made a list here of the things that we're missing and that we'll be asking them for more information or clarification on. And I want to let you know that I'm keeping this open throughout the discussion. So if you have things you want more clarification on, either before you make a decision on this or before the next stage, just let me know and we'll keep a running tally of those things. It's also within your power in your review stages to add additional standards. So if anything you think of that you want to ask questions on or want to apply those standards to them, let me know and I'll add those to these lists as well. We'll kind of cover the standards for review in as much or little detail as you want, but I think the first thing we're going to allow them to do is present their concept to you, and then you can ask them questions.
Can you slide that back up on the traffic? Has that been turned in, or the flow?
We don't have a flow map, right? It's something we could ask for. Right now, there's just flow in one way and out the other. But we could ask them to add that, and you also can choose to ask for a traffic impact study as well. That's a part of the conceptual review if you'd like to.
And they've met the requirements for 2 different accesses in and out to all parcels
Conceptually, yes.
conceptually.
And
So that's the thing we added at the end here.
Yeah, that's a potential consideration that you may want to think about in terms of if you make a motion, is that option that's shown the BLM right away, they don't have that yet. So any approval that you give would have to be, in our opinion, conditioned upon them obtaining that BLM right away.
Okay.
So take it away, Paul or Adam, if you'd like to.
Sure, thank you. So I'm Paul Morris, and I'm the manager of Babylon Lands and also the chair of the formerly the Grapevine Wash Local District. Now changed the name, it's Land Enhancement and Development Special District.
Can you talk up a little?
Yeah, we
Can you
can't
put
hear
that-
you.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
so Paul Morris, and I'm manager of the Babylon Lands, the private lands, and then the green area is owned by a governmental entity that in the application was Grapevine Wash Local District. The name has been changed and certified by the Lieutenant Governor. It's the same entity, but it's now called Land Enhancement and Development Special District. They changed the name of all local districts are now special districts, and that name fit better. And then the acronym is Leeds District, LEADS, Leeds District, but same entity, just a new name officially as of 2 weeks ago.
So can you kind of clarify that again? I'm not understanding.
So there's a governmental entity called that's existed since 2011. And it's called Grapevine Wash Local District. And that was in
And what does
2011.
that district do?
So it can fund the water and the sewer, storm drain, curb gutter, and sidewalk. It's kind of like a PID, but then it can also operate. So it's different. It's a basic local district, and it can operate a water, sewer, or facilities. So it's,
And you're president of that?
I'm chair. I'm
Chair.
chair of the board of trustees of the group. So it's elected by the landowners until you actually have voters, and then the voters elect the board of trustees. But we don't have any voters yet. Then under Utah law, then it's us.
And that's for this project, and then you're also over other projects?
Yes, so it was started in Leeds, so the Silver Cliffs development is where it started, and it issued bonds last year, and that's all under construction right now. And then this property, this 80 acres, was annexed into the district officially, formally done. It was annexed a few months ago, but officially it's inside for about a month ago. And then there was another 80 acres over on the other side that's not part of Tokerville that was annexed in. So about 160 acres have been annexed in.
So you've kind of annexed this in, so will that be covered and governed by this organization?
Yes,
And the
so
water and sewer will be handled by that organization?
no, so because you already provide the services, unlike Leeds that didn't have any water and sewer, they didn't have any of those services provided. You already provide water and sewer. So you're the water and sewer provider. We're just going to be the funder, just the pay for the curb gutter and sidewalk, bond for the putting in the improvements, but they'll be turned over to Tokerville, the water and sewer. So this is, the purpose of it is funding, and then number two was to protect Devil's Hole, to make sure that it is not developed on top, it stays pristine, because it's privately owned. But when we acquire the property, we think it's a significant asset and resource. People have been going there for a long, long time. Technically, they've been trespassing, going up there and enjoying it. So we're going to try to change that to make it formally protected in perpetuity. So I want to work with your attorney on the best way to do that, either turn it over to Tokerville as a park, or we can create a public infrastructure district, the Devil's Hole Infrastructure District, to hold it for liability reasons. It might be smart to have a separate governmental entity that only has the Devil's Hole as part of its amenity. But we told you before when we got the zoning that we'd come back and we will give it free of charge for public use to be able to go up there and have a trail and walk and enjoy it. And it's gorgeous. I've walked it many times, climbed down inside a few times, and I love it. It's a great amenity, and we want to keep it pristine like it is. Though I don't like the parts where people have carved their names over the years. So
Yeah.
we've been talking about how can we take a grinder and try to make that, get it back to pristine looking where nobody's touched it. But other than that, we want to just leave it the way it is, but provide access. So that's part of this whole negotiation with this, when we get the development agreement, is to a transfer title to that area.
to whatever governmental entity in perpetuity forever to be a public asset.
I was up
How-
there, I was up there today and unfortunately it was peppered with paintballs. Just destroyed it with paintballs all over it. And that's just disgusting.
Yeah, I've gone up there and there's a sign and somebody lit a fire on it. And then we had a official posted sign that was put in to a post when we did the annexation. And somebody ripped the papers down. And then I went back to a day or two later and they took the whole sign. It didn't have anything on it, but they took the poles and everything and just took it.
I'm just disgusted on.
Yeah, I'm sad to hear that because I've been up there fairly frequently, but I haven't been in the last few weeks. So anyway, at some time, I think it would appropriate, I would like to do, as we work through this process, some sort of field trip for those who are interested to go up there with us and walk. I got some ideas, but we want to talk to any members of the council or planning commission that would like to walk with us and just kind of talk through where should the boundaries be, and because it's beautiful, but there's also cliffs. And so we want to make sure it's, and when you get to the hole, there's no safety. You're just right on the edge. And so tumble down and there could not be, that's why I think about I want to leave it
That's the
pristine.
name, right? Devil's Hole.
Hence the name. I want to leave it pristine, but also I think maybe for my district and for the town, we maybe want to create a special Devil's Hole Public Infrastructure District that owns it and keeps it in perpetuity. So anyway, that's a big important part to us as part of this negotiation to figure out that transfer and the exact boundaries. And then on the other side where you see the other green, that's also owned by the district, and we're trying to figure out what the exact boundary there is. But we've been approached by I forget their official name, but it's the Utah Horse something group that I didn't realize that's a area that they like to go through to access down to the BLM property and ride horses, and they park up there and come down on that BLM property and come down, and they want to make sure we've assured them we will work with them to figure out. So we see this as hiking, horses, and then there's also some parts of that where there's razors go and connect down there, and collectively we want to make sure. I'm a razor guy, I'm a hiker, but I like accessing it that way. So we want to talk about, there's right on the edge there, you don't know where I'm pointing, but on the green side, on the development side where you see the lots, there's some razor where you can ride and keep on going. You come from the BLM and keep going, and I've wondered if we ought to keep that. I don't want to disturb the homes, but I think you can be far enough up there and still be able to have access. And I think it could be an amenity for those houses where you can come right out, go up, and go on a nice little ride, or go hike, or walk your dog, or go
There
look
used
at
to
the
be a
views.
trail
Yeah.
on
That's
that side of Devil's Hole,
Yeah.
but then it got closed off.
That's important because I think that's how most of the people in the area like to try to access it, is with
With a razor,
some
sure.
sort of, yeah.
Mhm. And for me, razors are fun, but they're also equalizers. There's some people that I've taken who don't have the physical ability
Yeah.
to hike. I like hiking. I like canyoneering. That's kind of my thing. But there's some people that can't, but why can't they enjoy it? Why can't they get up there? I've taken some people and then get out, and now they get to see that beautiful view and walk. They don't even walk up to Devil's Hole because that's a little tough for them, but they can still go see, get back in the razor, and then be able to go enjoy more. So I'm kind of big on that let's make it accessible to all levels of, physical ability, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So
I have a
I'd like
question.
I'd like to
Sorry.
take you up. I think all the planning commissioners ought to be up there and look at it. And you guys ought to be up there to show us where the property lines are and where your projects are going and things. I think this is so important. And yes, I agree on protecting that, and I'm thankful that you're doing that.
Yeah.
Get up there and just see what it's going to do. Yeah, I hate to see houses right up against it, but that's development. And yeah, I would love to own one of those houses right below it with that as my backyard. But I'd hate to see those houses too tall that you can't see it when we're going on that bypass.
I've stood right where the furthest house is up there. It's pretty far away. It actually, I think you'll be pleased where the houses start and how much of that slope and going up. It's not right on the.
Well, I'd like to see that. I'd like you guys to show us that.
Yeah, we can stake it, and I would love to do that. I'd love to do a field trip and have people come and let's all
That'd be
stand.
great.
Let's all stand there together and just talk it through. And
That'd be really good.
And I agree with what he just said. I have a question though about the government entity that you mentioned earlier. I know you guys, I mean, how does that work? At what point would we get more information on that, on how that would proceed?
Yeah, sure. On how to best utilize that. I think one of the questions that will come up tonight is they proposed a couple different ways of utilizing open space. So one of the questions that's on the table is, it looks like currently their proposal is to dedicate that parcel that contains Devil's Hole for public use. So if you guys want to offer some sort of bonus for that, that'll be something we can talk about tonight. That's probably option one. That looks like what's proposed right now. If that doesn't turn out to be something that you guys want to do, then we could also talk through other options, or we could, table it and talk through other options that are available. But currently it's been proposed, from my perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, that they would dedicate that for public use and they would receive a density bonus of 10%.
I think
Okay, but you mentioned you would title it over to a government agency?
It's already
Did I
in the
understand?
governmental entity, and the
Oh,
governmental
oh.
entities are created by
Government.
cities or counties. In this case, it was created by Leeds back in 2011.
Oh, okay.
And within those governmental entities, they're authorized for specific purposes. So one of the purposes that their district was authorized for is parks and recreation. So this would be in line with what their district can do.
Okay.
They can hold this property for parks and recreation.
Thanks
And
for
what
that.
I'm saying, so I'm really clear, if Tokerville wants to have title in its name and make it part of your parks, I'm fine with that. I'm just suggesting from that standpoint, we might want to have a separate governmental entity that's the
Got it.
Devil's Hole Public Infrastructure District owns it. But in either case, we are willing to transfer it, obviously at no
That's
charge, and have it in perpetuity.
Is
And
that
I
because of
honestly
the
just needed more
liability case?
information
Yeah,
because
I
I
guess,
don't know that
I
much
think what
about
he's
it.
getting at, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like Leeds, it owns more property and has more going on than just these two parcels. So what you're saying is parse it out, create a different special district to hold just these parcels and or turn it over to the city. So
Correct.
those are all options that are on the table. The MPDO ordinance allows you guys discretion in whether you want to take that land or not if it's dedicated. That's not necessarily something you have to decide today, but something that's good to just kind of think about. Yeah, but just so you know, if you don't decide on that today, it's not like you can't revisit that topic later. You can say, here's how we'd like this, to be dedicated or used, and then
Yeah.
proceed accordingly to make it happen, how the city wants it to happen.
And what I'm suggesting is it's your call. I'm fine with transferring to a separate governmental entity, leaving it in this governmental entity, or giving it to Tokerville.
So,
But
I
in all
kind of like giving it to
circumstances,
Tokerville personally, but
so
the only reason I suggested this separate entity is liability.
yeah,
That's the only-
that's right.
Tokerville's
Okay, got
liability.
it. Yeah, there's.
It's still a government, you still
two-sided
control the
coin.
entity, but it's
Yeah.
a separate.
I know.
I've had experience with this up north. We created a
Okay.
PID just to hold environmentally sensitive
Oh.
land so that the mothership governmental entity did not separate the liability reasons. And so we
Right.
created a public infrastructure district
Okay,
specifically for
got it.
liability reasons. And so I'm just from my background, I'm a government guy from my background, local government. So from my experience, sometimes you want to do that.
Yeah.
And you don't want to,
Yeah.
we don't want to put guardrails. We don't want to stop people from hiking there, but it is a little, a little dangerous.
It is.
no,
Regardless of whether it's retained by the governmental entity or the city, like they'd still have to show that they permanently dedicated it. So like all this could be addressed in the development agreement, the specifics of how it gets done. But as far as, for tonight, it's more of a
Yeah.
consideration of what's this going to look like? Are we going to give a bonus of, X%? I think it was 10 that they proposed for this area. Do we want to do that? That sort of thing.
I'd like to know a little bit more about where you guys are at in the process with option A versus option B on the road.
In fairness to our BLM friends, they're not working.
Right.
We can't get hold of anybody, and we even sent them the check. We tried to do it online like they do, and we sent them the check, and they haven't cashed it, and it's been a lot for the application. So, and I've been working on this thing for well over a year, and we're on our fourth BLM person.
Wow.
So it's challenging. Now, you were amazing because you were the applicant. We're a governmental entity because government applications are higher priority. You are the applicant. It's awesome, but we just are in, and then it was tough before, but then when they closed down,
Yeah.
we're just sitting, we think as you read the papers, hopefully the whole furlough thing's going to end here soon. But then they just have a pile of stuff. So I don't know when, but option A is the plan, but we don't want to be held hostage by the BLM forever. I'm confident we'll get it. That if you drive that with a razor, that, we proposed 50 foot.
It's 100, but yeah, we both proposed 100. It's a 50-foot road. It's a 100-foot right away. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, 50-foot road.
60-foot road.
But when you drive it, when you look at all the razor lines in it, I measured at least on Google Earth, it's 100 and something. There's not one road there. People are driving everywhere. So in other words, under BLM rules, as I understand, if it's already disturbed land, that's easier than taking pristine land and trying to put something, well, that's really disturbed land.
So currently, under the sub-governmental agency that's overseeing that part of the LEEDS one that you're talking about, they're overseeing and looking at that right now, and Torkerville doesn't have a vote or anything.
You are the applicant.
Okay, we're the applicant
On the road.
on the road, but I'm talking about the land.
Oh, yes.
That
Yes.
basically to protect the land and stuff. And then I'm a little concerned because Leeds is coming right over the mountain now with their big road, coming right at it. And then they're building a big water tank out there and they're putting it behind the mill so none of their development can see the big water tank, but Torkerville can. And so nobody has at the table from Torkerville for the development Leeds are doing, and I understand that. But what you're telling me now is the agency that oversees that, which you're part of it or chairman of it, that's based out of Leeds and everything, and nobody's even on the board from our city. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're independent of Tokerville. So Tokerville created it. It's called a basic local district. They don't exist anymore. Leeds, excuse me. Leeds created it in 2011. It's independent of Leeds. And so we don't go back to Leeds to ask their permission. So when I say we can transfer to you, it's us who decides, owns that green area and decides to.
So you're the title holders?
Yes.
Yes.
And Leeds had a say in what they could do with their zoning and things that they did on their property, just like you guys have a say on what they get to do on this property. But since that property is in Leeds, that's why Leeds City had the say on what goes on over there.
I understand.
Just like Leeds isn't here to say what you guys are going to do on this property.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. These guys are independent, and the government, you guys control the zoning, you control all the other, the overarching stuff. So did Leeds town, right? They still have to sign like the final plats and stuff, but that's the difference.
They have no say-so over what we're talking about.
But yeah, they have no say over this at all.
I think
What's
And they
confusing?
did not take in consideration, and I know the mountain's the highest point, but they put their water tank on this side where Devil's Hole, we're looking at their new water tank, where it's gonna go, but they won't see it on their side. And so I'm a little cautious, going through, basically they're screwing us and protecting them. And now we're going to have a big tank that we went to the expense to bury along the bypass. So people wouldn't see the big tank, but they're going to put it right in view from this Devil Hole when you go up there, and then you're going to see this big tank on this side of the mountain.
You will see it, but also you guys have tanks like that you see from I-15 and stuff. Water tanks are hard to hide.
Yeah, I know. I just,
So
They didn't do it to punish you. It was because of the elevation
Yeah.
and the practical way that it
Maybe
worked
putting
out.
some lizards on it.
Well, and I think what's confusing is that your independent organization is named Leeds, LEADS, and which is different than the town
Yeah,
of Leeds.
that's
And so I think
confusing.
that's confusing to everyone. So,
Maybe we should have picked a different name. but
Yeah,
It sounded clever at the time.
It did sound like
LEADS.
you were talking
The,
about.
the law prohibits special districts to be named after the town or city that created it. It cannot be LEEDS. No, and Tokerville, if you can't call it Tokerville,
Yeah.
whatever, because they don't want citizens confused.
sure.
But we thought we were being clever with the LEADS because Grapevine Wash means nothing on this
Right.
property. The Grapevine Wash is way over there. So we thought, well, it's a land development and enhancement entity that's specifically designed to do betterments, including, as indicated
Yeah.
by your attorney, amenities and parks and recreation facilities, that
Right,
sort of
right.
thing. So its purpose is very, very good. And it again is independent. What happened is it was created independent under a previous law, and then the legislature for all special districts allowed annexation because they wanted to be able to have the infrastructure funded at the cheapest price, which is doing bonds as opposed to trying to bring the cost of housing down and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So enhance that by making the infrastructure as cheap as possible since it's publicly owned.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the philosophy of 2011 to where we are in 2025.
Right.
This entity that we have has that ability both to annex and to create a PID.
Yeah.
Can create a separate public infrastructure district.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, do you want
Okay,
to
well,
continue to walk us through
Yeah.
what your plans, ideas are?
Yeah. Hi, Adam Allen with American Consulting and Engineering. So, yeah, you're good to keep it on that. So on the side that you guys can see from Tocqueville, obviously we wanted to keep that just residential, larger size lots, try to minimize what's going on over there. And on the other side, I know that you're going to be up on Devil's Hole and being able to see what's going on over there, but that's where they're thinking they would want to do some commercial or a little bit higher density stuff. They have some ideas of what they want to do, which we're not ready to present yet, but
That's
And
quite a
so-
hillside, though, that whole area on the other side of Devil's Hole, right?
Yeah.
it's not
Down in the
terrible.
bottom, you have a little bit more terrain that's a little bit more
as you can-
favorable.
Yeah, as you can see, that's why the two lines, and it's hard to see on this. I don't know if we have a map that shows.
No, there's a map there that has the
Yeah.
topograph. If
Yeah,
you
that has
look
like
down
the
there.
topography and
Yeah.
stuff, but you can see, right, you
Mhm.
can see it like in that one specifically where you're getting more into okay, it's getting steeper again. So down in that valley, it's not too bad.
Is that where you would want to do your proposed amphitheater?
But yeah, possibly if we can make that happen. So,
Yeah. So I don't want to get people's hope up of what we want to do. So that's why I don't talk about it a lot yet. We have a lot more work to do. But we think that that is gorgeous. I've been down there so many times.
It is. It's
You
beautiful.
can't see it, you can't hear it. But
Yeah.
just having houses there will be a gorgeous place to live. It will not disturb anybody. And right below it is a 35-acre that leads approved. There's going to be a 35-acre dispersed hotel with 100 cabins, high-end, with a high-end spa open to the public and restaurant. So it's going to be very, very nice, quiet area, and then going up that road right there. But since you're aware of it, we had somebody go through that property and said this could be the most gorgeous amphitheater, and with the coming down from the freeway and coming down wouldn't disturb anybody. Go in and go out the other way unless you're coming from Tocqueville to come to a concert. But some people think it would rival Red Rocks in Denver, that they would be that nationally known. It's just so pretty right there. And you have the stage that way. So the audience is sitting here with the Devil's Hole on their left side. And then you look down at Sand Hollow and the music's going up at the BLM. It's going that way, but it's sheltered in between two of them. So we've taken people out, but it's one of my passion projects to want to have some patience, develop the subdivision right away that you just saw on the other side, but try to hang on to this to do a lot of work. But if Tocqueville says it's a bad idea, we're glad to do something else. But we think that could be just a really cool thing. And frankly, it could be a nice tax generator because we're talking about trying to do 6,000 seats. What's it called? Come on, I've been there a million times.
Tuacahn?
Thank you. Tuacahn is only 2,500 seats.
Oh, really?
And so the amphitheaters, so groups from LA and Vegas, they pass, they're going up to go to Denver. We're going up there and the groups are passing and they bypass us. And we don't get, because they're not going to spend 3 nights playing there. And so we've been told that this is prime for one that's 5, hopefully 7,000 seats. So those kind of groups that can attract those people stay one night, and they got 5,000 instead of 2 nights. And so it's complementary to what they're doing, but they can't. We're not competing. That's 2 different markets that you're trying to compete with. But it could be a very beautiful, very interesting thing that you can't see or hear unless you're going to it. And that's what we're that's what we're looking at doing. And I get excited, as you can tell, about it because I want to work on a cool project, and that's cool. But I don't know if we can pull it off. Let me just we might not be able to, and it might end up just being houses. But the engineer who came through and said, what you need to do is in the ground right there. He was an expert on heat pumps. And he says, Red Rocks closes from October to April because they have snow. Yep. But he said, this one could be open year round. And you cheaply, for those 2 hours people are there, you go down, you use heat pumps and you air condition the seats. Not fans up above, but actually have air conditioning. So in the hot evening when it's 98, you can still have a beautiful experience, and then heat it for those 2 hours during the summer without it being too expensive by having it. Anyway, he had a design in his head of how that would all work. So that's why we're hanging on. We would like to move through with you and develop the subdivision on the other side. Those are beautiful lots, as you indicated, but have patience on the middle part. That's what we want to do, and work with you and others to see if we can do this amphitheater concept. That's the goal, but we might not pull it off, but we're going to sure try.
Okay. Any other questions? Do you wanna-
I have a comment. So being a kid and being there since 92, there's another special place out there that we used to call Frog Rock. And anyway, I realize this is conceptual, but the road on the BLM as it travels north, if there's any way that maybe when we go out on our field trip, we can look and I can show you that other area, but I feel like that roadway is starting to, it's getting really close to Frog Rock encroaching in that area. So if there was a way that it could be moved to the east a little bit, something to consider. I realize that's probably small, but that's a really fun memory.
What is it?
So the boundary line when it goes into BLM, and it has that little bend in it. If you look maybe 2-3 inches up on my screen, you'll see a pathway that's going to the west. It looks like a road. Yeah, a little bit further up. Keep going, stop right there. Yep, right there. There's a lot of fun area in there to explore as well. Anyways, a childhood memory, Frog Rock, camped it underneath it many times, as well as camped in Devil's Hole, which is an awful experience. I can speak from experience. Don't camp in Devil's Hole.
Yeah, I think I know where you're.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah. You think it's going to be like out of the wind, but it's actually just a hair blower with sand and the long night.
Yeah, and we can go through that with the BLM, right? They don't want us to be disturbed. They want us to disturb as little as possible. So as we go through that process with the BLM, we'll have to go out there and mark where that is, and we'll have to go. There's a whole process we have to go through with them on that.
I appreciate it.
So and when we're out there, we can also locate where that's at.
Okay.
So your price point, and I wish we could put this up so the public can see the homes kind of that you're looking at and stuff. And what kind of price points did those start at? Because these aren't cheap homes.
Yeah, and at the moment, until we start go through the development, decide what those are, but they're not going to be cheap. They're going to be more expensive.
Is a max density allowed? Is it only up to 10% is the max that we can give, or can we go higher than that?
As far as a density bonus?
Yeah.
They can apply for cumulatively up to 30% density bonus. They've applied for a cumulative 25% density bonus.
Okay.
And they want to apply for these bonuses through 3 different ways. So designating some spaces open space, some spaces trails, and then by dedicating that whole parcel that has Devil's Holes in it for public use.
So if you would slide that up to the houses besides of those. So I take it those homes are starting right around $1 million or so.
Probably.
I mean, if I had to say off the cuff, more than likely, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say, like I said, till we get all the development costs and stuff, but those lots are all, I think they're all,
Almost half acre, right?
they're up to half acre. They're great big lots because of the we're trying to keep as close to the R120 up there as we can. They do get a little bit smaller as we get towards Firelight because their lots are really small. And so we thought that it would be a little harder to, I think those ones get to like 15,000 or something because we feel like, yeah, they're a little bit smaller down there just because those lots there, those are in next to their, what they call their PA1, which is the active adult. And those are the smallest lots they have.
So on your due diligence, and I don't like how Utah handles it, and we'll serve for water. What are you thinking on your water usage and things like that? Or have you talked about water and the availability of getting water to provide services?
So that would be, we're in Tokerville, so we'll have to follow whatever Tokerville requires us to do. Right, because Tokerville is the water service provider. So whatever rules, regulations, whatever you guys have is what we have to follow.
Yeah. A part of that whole deal is we would, as we get closer and more in depth into the engineering and things, that we might have them do some sort of a little culinary water to see what's going to affect our how it's going to affect the overall area. But
We'll have to do
those lots, you'll do a water analysis, that type of thing. But as far as the provider, we are part of the water district's regional water supply agreement. They're bringing additional water supplies from the treatment plant, bringing it up. They're connecting that. They've already connected it actually into the Cottom Well. They understand the growth that they need for the Firelight area, as well as possibly as Lowe's PDO develops and all of the commercial that can develop at Anderson Junction. So, there's a bunch of water demand there. So they're gearing up not only just to provide from the Cottom Well, but they're also going to provide from the treatment plant
So
as well.
they'd have availability and with the treatment plant, irrigation water and things like that.
Yeah, the ag conversion, a lot of that type of stuff. And then also, like you're saying, that reuse water, converting more and more ag water to reuse.
I can say that, but I still have a problem. I get penalized for using too much water
So will
in
they.
my place.
And so will these guys, and they'll actually fall under a more stringent standard, more than likely. Like my house, I bought mine in 2016, and I'm allowed a lot more than people are now when they hook on, right? I'm allowed something like 40,000 gallons a month. They're allowed like 20. So the penalties, they're starting to make them fall into some more conservative standards to do things. So these won't be able to have great big grass and things like that for the most part.
So the Water Conservancy District has adopted the ultra water conservation standards, but they don't require, each city decides whether they want to go with it or not. On that development you're talking about in Leeds, because Leeds doesn't have its own water company, in that development, we agreed to comply with the ultra water conservation. So it's the first major development, but their standard right now, I don't know what your standard is per house, is 0.59 acre feet per
Yeah,
house.
it's the same. We've adopted that as well.
0.59. The new ultra water conservation is 0.39.
Just basically no outdoor watering.
No sprinklers, no lawns, artificial turf, natural. You can have 2,000 square feet, but it has to be
Drought tolerant.
what's the drip system, and the most controversial is no pools at all, only a community pool, but you can't have it into but they're leaving it to each city to adopt their own standard for whether they want to adopt the most stringent standard. But anything the Water Conservancy District is the retail provider for in the unincorporated county, they're mandating the new standard.
We have not adopted the ultra high, but we did adopt water efficiency standards in early 2024. So we review those when we do the building permit. It has drip irrigation, lawn, only certain lawn allowances, and then they have those overages for houses built after 2023. I believe that for the 0.39 acre feet is all they're allowed.
So those half acre lots are going to be pretty blank or zero landscape?
Yeah, xeriscape.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Xeriscape.
Yeah.
That's what they'll have to have.
Emily, can you turn to page 19 in the packet? It could be just an error, but down at the bottom of the property, it shows an arrow going south. I'm assuming that's on a trail system. Is there plans to connect into something else like that? Nope, it's not that page.
What page at the bottom of the?
19, it was 19 in my packet.
19.
Oh, you know, it's the trails plan, I'm sure.
No, it doesn't have one.
It's 3 of the map with the pictures.
Right, that one right there.
Yeah,
And the reason why we showed that like that is because it does tie into BLM right there, and there's other trails that continue on through the BLM. We won't be developing them because the BLM isn't going to want us to do anything, but basically that ties in, and there's other trails and razor roads and stuff that go down through there.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Do you know an approximate square footage of the home sizes for the planning area 1?
We haven't, I mean, it'll be whatever they can build, right? Whoever comes in, they'll probably be custom builders. They'll probably
Do
build
you
anywhere
have,
from.
so you're going to let different builders, you don't have like an overarching one that's going to do all of it?
We haven't decided but we've been approached by a custom builder that want to take all of them. So we'll see.
And they'll have CCNRs and.
Oh, yeah.
Covenants and things like that. So even if there's other builders, they'll all have to kind of, meet
the
the same standards, but no, it'll be, based on whatever people want. Some people might want to buy a half-acre lot and build a 12,000 square foot house. Other people might want a lot and a 4,000 square foot or 2,000 square foot house. So
And who all is on your team that's required for an MPDO? Because it didn't have a list of, you have to have a landscape architect, an engineer.
Yeah, there's 5 different professionals that they have to
Who are-
designate.
I didn't see that in the packet. Do we have?
We do have it now, yep, it was not in the packet. I could pull them up individually if you want to know who it is. This is their,
I think just the names would be
oh,
sufficient for me.
okay. Landscape architect is Cody Schmidt. Did you say Adam Dunn? Or Matt Ents is the,
Matt Ents.
Matt Ents is the attorney. The architect is Nick Hammer.
Okay.
And then American Land Consulting, Adam Allen, and Austin Chapel is my partner. He's civil engineer.
They're the land surveyor and
Surveyor,
engineer.
Civil engineering.
Okay. Thank you.
So is this planned to have a HMO, what is it?
HOA.
HOA.
HOA. You're going to have HOA or not? And who's responsible for, I guess, once you meet the standards, you'll dedicate everything to the city. How about, and then if you gave it to the city of Park too, then who would be responsible? And I guess those getting into the devil's details when you get closer.
Yeah.
Things like
And
that.
so they've got some couple different options with their district about whether or not an HOA at the district is voted on by the people. But as far as like,
Well, the land that's going to be subject to the HOAs in the Babylon Lands LLC,
yeah,
right?
not the,
So we
yeah,
would need
the
the
other,
district's approval.
the other land as we go through there, right? The other land that gets broken out into the open space will be dedicated to a public entity. Right? So a park, when we say a park, we're not talking building like it's more natural type stuff. They were talking like a trailhead type, right? Put a trailhead up there somewhere to park. That way people can go into Devil's Hole and there utilize all that stuff. And that would all be given to the city by the district, right? Their governmental district or whatever that is. But the HOA wouldn't have any control or say over any of that stuff.
I prefer not to have an HOA and use the PID. So our district can have, that's what we're doing in Silver Cliffs, is it doesn't have an HOA, but it has the district, Leeds district name. The new name is the HOA. And so I'm the chair right now, but under the law, when you have actual residents there, and I'm going to be one of the residents, by the way, I'm going to live there, you have an election. And it's a public entity, just like you, and open meetings laws and all that. So to me, that's superior to an HOA. It's quite transparent. And our kind of district, instead of having an HOA fee, it could charge a small maintenance fee
And so it's equivalent, so your financing plus your HOA fee is about the same, excuse me, your financing plus your maintenance fee tax is equivalent of an HOA, but it shows up on your property tax, so you don't have a separate HOA bill. So for tax purposes, it's better, and I like for transparency, so that 48 lots you saw there will have its own PID, whatever, we're calling it Silver Cliff Summit. So Silver Cliff Summit will have its own PID separate than the Devil's Hole, whatever that entity is. And it will have that will govern and control instead of it's equivalent of HOA, but they actually will elect their board of trustees from the voters who live in that community. So for me personally, I think it's a superior way, and I prefer doing it that way. HOAs have a bad name.
Yeah.
Government transparent, grandma, open meeting, election, and fees are on your taxes, is a superior way to go.
I will just say, our firm represents a lot of HOAs. We're actually known for a lot of HOA law, and I think there's pros and cons to either. So it might be something you guys want to consider, whether you'd rather see this subject to a PID or an HOA and what the pros and cons are, that sort of thing.
That's your development company. Have you done PIDs before, and like, have you executed this whole plan in another area in the past?
Yes, so.
Can you tell us where?
So Silver Cliff's the one that has the tank that he doesn't like where it's located. That's our project, and we issued a $95 million bond. That's why all the infrastructure can be built all at once. That's the one on the Chera, and then we plan to continue on the board, let other people become the HOA. And then up north, I've created 5 PIDs. I've been on PID boards multiple times, and my PIDs were the entities, governmental entities. So I'm contracted to governmental entities up there.
Can you
We've issued about
tell us the names of some of them?
there's Jamar, the Jordanelle area. Jamar, what does it stand for? J-A-M-R-A. Are you familiar with the Deer Valley area?
I am.
Okay. So Deer Valley has a new Deer Valley East Village. You know that? So the Jordanelle, you got that brand new visual with a Grand Hyatt. The entity that's the city over that is the MIDA Military Installation Development Authority, it's an authority created by the state. And anyway, I've represented them. I've contacted them for the last 17 years. And so we've issued about through 5 different PIDs we've created, and we're approaching about $800 million in financing. And so we're on the Jordanelle side, that new Jordanelle Parkway. We built that road, we gave it to the county. That village that's right there, it went from 20 million of value to $2 billion of value. And so we put in hundreds of millions of infrastructures and all that stuff. And then up at Camp Williams, I did one at Camp Williams, but up at Hill Air Force Base, we've created an authority up there in the ponds up there. That's my world. Okay, so I'm
Thank you. I just am a trust but verify, so thank you.
I'm an infrastructure bond guy.
Appreciate it.
My
I'm
whole career.
glad to have somebody
Can I ask
experienced here.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So I'm just looking at your proposed plan. It talks about how your development will be made subject to CC&R. So I guess, are you saying you'd record CC&Rs and might specify certain restrictions, but then in terms of like paying for the actual improvements, it would be the PID?
Correct.
So there wouldn't actually be an association, but you just have this PID.
That's right, and that's what we're doing Silver Cliff, and that answers drafted our CC&Rs. So you record the CC&R, so you have the same protection as your neighbors. But instead of having an HOA where you pay a fee to it, you're electing this board, and they have the authority. It's like an HOA, but you
elect your board in an HOA too.
Yeah.
Exactly, and they have the authority to enforce on the behalf, because there's a community center in that, and it's going to have pickleball courts, but rather than having the HOA on it, the district owns that particular facility. So we're doing the same up here. If we do the amphitheater or whatever goes in the middle, that will be a separate PID, because that'll be a separate financing, separate funding to figure out amphitheater versus, other commercials different than residential. So anyway, we'll create those. But yes, I've had a lot of experience, and
Thank you.
I could bore you with some details.
Just the minimum amount of work. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, First off, I'm not an HOA component guy, and I don't think the planning or the city government wants to be over CCNRs and ruling all of that. The city government has enough work instead of looking at the squabbles and the complaints of neighbors and things like that. So that's another in the devil of the deeds that need to go. I like the project, but I don't want it to get pushed by so quick without us looking at it further. I mean, I would like to have a tour out there. I'd like you to show us the property lines. I don't know where this other open space is and what it even looks like on that, see like that. And I would suggest that we have set up a meeting that we can go out there and you guys can explain and show us the land. I'm a dirt kicker. I like to see it and stand out there. And I did today. Staff took me out there and showed me. But that doesn't mean, I still have lots. I think it's a good project if it's done right. And it could be a great project for the city. And it can be a compliment to the city. And I think the biggest compliment is whatever we do, we protect that hole and make that, because that's your jewel with it. So that's just my concern.
My hope is, as I understand it, we come to you twice and go to your council twice. So I'd like to, I'm asking you to give us a favorable recommendation today so we go to the next step, spend more money, and go into more detail, and then set up the meeting and have you come out, because I'm gonna have to be in front of you again. So between then and now and then, we would do that.
In fairness, I mean, take your time. This is a complex ordinance. Applying it is complex. You can ask for additional information. So don't feel the pressure to approve this tonight. You can table it. You can approve the conditions. Your choice, obviously, but this is a complex process. This isn't like a straightforward, easy thing. It's
Can we continue it?
table it.
Continue it.
Yeah. We'd have to
I would
table it.
suggest tabling it.
Well, yeah. I appreciate that you guys have
The
said,
reason
like
I
you
would,
said.
okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. The reason I would suggest tabling it over continuing it is to at least get them some feedback as far as like, hey, these are the components of your application that we'd like to see more on. Here's what we'd like to do. I think that'd be the better approach, but ultimately up to you guys. Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, that's okay. They have been to us twice and then they have made it clear. I just want to say I appreciate that you've made it clear that you want to preserve and protect the Devil's Hole. I agree with what the attorney just said, though. I kind of feel like I need a little more information still.
I have a couple questions too. I don't.
I might jump in one more time where you say they've been here twice. So they were required to get underlying zoning for their MPO. So they had to come for that separately. So it's
just
not
zoning.
like we put them off. It's like they had to get the zone change. That's how we interpreted the ordinance. So they came, they got the zone change. Here they are seeking conceptual, so something different. So it is a stepwise process. It's intended to be 4 steps here, at least. Yeah.
One question I had was, and I'm not familiar with your Leeds surrounding area, but, and a concern I have is that I really like the planning area 1. I feel like it's a great concept. It fits well with the character of Tokerville. But there's 150 other housing units down in that are, I feel like the concept for planning area B is fuzzy, and it sounds like that's been your intent because there's the possibility of an amphitheater. But if the amphitheater doesn't come through, then we do have a lot of density that's going to, I think, require some careful planning, careful design, sophistication with how we address the needs like utility infrastructure, all those things down there. So my question is there any workforce housing within any, like in your other area in Leeds?
Yes, we're probably doing the largest project in the state of Utah with network owner-occupied workforce housing. So one of the powers of our district. So we went to the legislature this last year, and we use the grocery store. So we got authority that our entity can do economic development grocery stores specifically for Leeds. We need a fire station up there, and I met with the fire district. So I asked the legislature to have permission so we can build a fire station and give the fire station to them. So our entity bonds, so they don't have to bond and hand it over. So we pride ourselves on being good partners. But the affordable housing, we asked for authority to do a vertical for owner-occupied townhomes and single-family dwelling.
And deed restricted?
And permanent, either
Okay.
deed restricted or it might
Yeah, we can't hear.
Either deed restricted or use the community land trust. There's a
Okay.
nonprofit that was created down here that the counties has endorsed. I met with the board of directors. But right now, we're going to do over 100, probably it's going to end up being about 130 townhomes and single-family dwelling. We are going to hopefully issue the bonds for that so that people who are the government employees or school teachers or those can afford them.
Working on the median income?
Yes, and it's owner occupied. And so we're not, and I have nothing against apartments, but we didn't want to do apartments. We didn't want to do anything stacked. So all of our townhomes, and they're all 2-car garage, and they're all going to be nice. And we have single family dwelling on 9,000, 8,000 square foot lots. But first quarter of next year, we plan to issue a bond. I've been coordinating and talking to the state's representative for the governor, Steve Windrip, who is, they need 65,000 units.
Yeah.
But up to my knowledge, we're the largest that's trying to do a private sector play where it isn't require a government subsidy, other than issuing our tax exempt bonds. So I'm on the agenda for the county commission on Tuesday to get approval for that mixed use. And based on that, and I'm committing to do at least 150, and I think we'll end up doing 130 of those, of townhomes and single family. We're going to open it up first to government employees to be able to, school teachers, your employees, Leeds only has one employee, but the school district, the Water Conservancy District, government's first for a period of time, and then the others coming in at, we're catering to, about 70,000, and then for the houses, about 120,000. But there'll be a $650,000 house that somebody cannot afford right now to be able to do it. And same with the townhome. Their average is 425,000, and somebody it'll be about 80% of the value, the median value is what these homes will do. So we are as big as anybody on trying to do that and do it in the right way. So would we do some of that in this valley if we don't do the amphitheater? Yeah, could very well see us coming back and saying do that.
Okay.
But we are so big on it and wanting to do that, and that's not the only project. We're working on another project with somebody else, and I told them I won't help you. I'm not going to be involved unless you're going to do workforce housing, owner occupied workforce housing that people can buy. And the way it works is you buy it and you get it at 80% of the value. So 5 years from now, that school teacher sells it, they sell it for 80% of the value then. So they get equity, they're making some money, they can go and do another house. But what you don't want, and I'm aware of examples where they had 5-year deed restrictions, and in the 5th year, that firefighter flipped it. I would too, you would too. But once the deed restriction went away, they flipped it and take $150,000 of equity that they didn't have to pay for. So it's no longer missing middle, it's now gone. So ours is permanent. The county is asking for a 100-year deed restriction. I'm saying permanent, 100 years or whatever you want to call it, that we're gonna so that they sell it to the next school teacher and they get equity and equity. So anyway, it's a very complicated project. I've spent an enormous amount of time on it.
I can tell you have done your homework.
But
and I'm
we're
very
working on
pleased
it.
with
We're
your
working
answer
hard
to
on
my
it.
question.
So yes,
Thank you.
we're big on that.
Transportation. I feel like Leeds and Tokerville, we're not really in with the county about, are you guys open to having conversations about that down the road? If we're going to have more density out there, I think it would be sensible for us to start conversations. And this is for us too. Since they have finally got the bus going up to Zion. If we're going to have density in this side of the county anywhere, it would make sense to have a loop come around there to ease our traffic congestion that results when we have density. So since we're just in conceptual, I just wanted to bring that up and talk about it.
Yeah,
To
what
get
you're
it on
talking
people's
about
radars.
is, so there's a section within just general requirements for MPDO that allow for additional standards, and where you'd spell that out as a development agreement. But what you're bringing up now, it's a good time, like different considerations, things like that. You could impose a standard like that.
I was just thinking about that with the road, since there's two options and the one looks like an emergency one that might not be as friendly for larger.
I think that road's off the table for now, right? That option B.
Yes, it's actually not a bad location, but I prefer the horseshoe.
I
But,
think we all do.
but right now, I think we're going to get through the BLM, but I need to make sure that we can tie the two sides together. They got to be tied together. And if we did the other road, the option B, it would only be for the emergency access, the secondary access. I would suggest scaling it down to just what the International Building Code requires, which is a 20-foot all-service right-of-way with 5 feet on each side, as opposed to a 50-foot road, if we have to do option B. But we're all hope BLM goes back to work, and our application's been
Yes.
pending for months and months and months, and so hopefully we'll get that soon. May I ask a clarifying question? So if you table it now, does that mean we have to do 3 times at the planning commission, or how's that? Because I'm used to
You
doing.
have to come back, you have to address those items. So like, for instance, Emily pulled up the list briefly of just a few items that we felt like needed additional information. So we can go through that now. It might be a good time to go through that.
That was going to be
Yeah.
my next question,
Yeah.
actually.
So let's talk
So-
through that. So first, name, address, and qualifications of design team. Sounds like they provided this, so that's something they can provide. One of the other things that we felt like was lacking a bit was they're required to provide type and number of residential and non-residential uses. I feel like I have a pretty good idea of residential when I look at the plan, but as far as non-residential,
We haven't provided the concept, but there is a list of uses that are in there.
there's a list of uses, but it asks for number. Can you go back to the requirement I was looking at?
Just
Yeah.
going through like the other MPDOs, there isn't a number of other uses. Like if you look at Firelight or the
Yeah,
Toker Ridge,
but-
which I went through both of them. Firelight, I know very well now. right?
Yeah, fair
There's-
enough.
There's
I
not
mean-
like a number. We're saying, look, we've got commercial, but until we know what we're putting there, that's why there's a use table. There's those other things we put in there that we would do in the mixed use area townhomes, or, more of a high density type product, or commercial, or a mix of both. So I mean, I don't.
I
until
hear you,
know
but
what
we
I'm
have
putting in
to,
there.
we have to look at the code and this is what it says. So
So
I
that-
can't
so-
speak to what was done with Firelight. I wasn't here. I didn't go through that
I
process.
guess what I would ask is, what does that mean?
Yeah, good
Because
question.
that doesn't
So-
mean anything. I provided types
Yeah.
and uses and a number of different uses. So I've
So
met
what
the
I'm
code.
gonna look to, so first in conceptual, we're allowed to ask for type, not allowed to. We should get the type and number of non-residential uses. So to me, it's kind of like, okay, what's gonna be out there as far as like number of commercial centers, that sort of thing. And then when you move on to conceptual, let me find the requirement. Or sorry, preliminary. And Emily, if you beat me to it, just
Yeah.
let me know. But
One of the reasons we looked at it is because it does call for.
oh, okay. Location of existing and or proposed buildings and structures and their uses, open space, and dedicated or reserved properties. So that's requiring them to show their hand a fair amount there as far as like the level of detail that they're being required to provide for the overall preliminary.
So let me
site
ask you a
plan.
question, because all of this also went back to, like, there's a final site plan requirement and different things, like the different planning areas, like Firelight, for example, right? And then all the new stuff that city council then did and approved and did and said, hey, this is what you need to bring us with the final site plan, because you're going to come back and show us what you're doing. So it's not like it wouldn't come back at some point. This is very conceptual. We're saying conceptually, we want to do commercial there, but we don't know exactly what that is until we get farther into the process here. Are you guys even going to allow us to do commercial there?
Yeah, I understand the concern. It's just tough because our job is to look at the code and to interpret it. So I can only tell you what's in the code and how we'd interpret it. And I think that that's what
And so
should be
is-
shown. So
what
I
is
think
the-
in terms of, I think you should spell out the number of, whatever uses, like, we're going to put one amphitheater there, hopefully. Obviously that could change. If it did change, then it would go through like the material change process spelled out in your development agreement. But I think that's what the ordinance requires. That's our interpretation.
At what point does the development agreement get like written and executed in this?
Yeah,
this
good
step
question.
process?
I can't remember if a draft is required at the preliminary stage. I know that it's part of the final site plan approval. So when we
Okay.
approve the final site plan, so whole thing.
We provided a draft of it with this.
Yeah, but we can't approve that tonight because we're just looking at conceptual.
there,
And
right.
the code specifically says it needs to be a 3-stage process for good reason.
And we
There's a lot
understand
involved.
that. We're just providing a lot of information, trying to provide as much information as
Yeah.
possible, including more than what's being asked for.
Yes, fair enough. I mean,
Very,
I think that's
what I would
great, but we
request
can
is
only
very
evaluate.
specifically, then if you're saying that I haven't met what the code requires, then I need very specific instructions as to what the code doesn't require.
Yeah, I get that.
So,
In terms of what I think it requires, I think it requires you to show, so can you flip back to that
Just-
exact language so I don't go off? Okay. So type as far as like, what do you think you're going to put in this area? So if it's an amphitheater, then an amphitheater. If it's one amphitheater, one amphitheater. I mean, I think that would be a pretty sufficient description then.
okay.
Let me be clear, and I hesitated talking about the amphitheater because I believe it would be awesome and amenity, but I'm not going to be held to it. If I put amphitheater in and that holds everything up, then I can't do the amphitheater. That's why we were doing it in the alternative. If I have to list specifically, I'm not going to list the amphitheater because I think what our goal was, we think we have a terrific project. So we do these beautiful lots there, we give the Devil's Hole, and then we have patience on the middle part. If I can do the 48 beautiful lots that we talked about, that's going to generate for me and the partner sufficient revenue to be patient on the middle. So that's what I'm asking you. I want to move so we can do something we all think will be really nice on the front, and then we will take the time. But I think it'll be over a year. I mean, it'll take a long time to work through all those details. I mean, I've been searching for amphitheater architect. Specialized. I had an architect and I said, how many amphitheaters have you designed? And, well, I haven't designed one. Oh, then you're not my architect. Anyway, that's a lot of money and a lot of time. But if I got to say now it's going to be an amphitheater and then I'm punished if I don't, then I'm going to take it off the list and I'll come back later and ask for an amendment and just put houses in that middle part and then do the Devil's Hole. So I'm asking you, we're trying to work with you, but I would like to move it forward with what we know. And then let's work on the middle part together and figure that out. And I don't mind the development agreement saying you got to come back, if that middle part, you got to come back.
You can go ahead if you want.
Well, to my commissioners, I think our job is to follow the ordinances that are there, right?
Our legal advice is
That
always going to be follow your
Yeah,
ordinance.
that is our job. And so if the city council wants to make exceptions to that's on their table. So I think helping you understand what our job is versus what you're asking, that therein, I think, lies the discrepancy.
But I've read your ordinance, he's read your ordinance. I think we are complying. Other than we gave the list of those people. We think what we proposed with the list and the type and that sort of thing is sufficient. I mean, it's not crystal clear that we have to say it's exactly one amphitheater. I didn't read as you couldn't do it in the alternative. So if we're wrong on that, tell us that we're wrong and I'll be very clear.
Will you
that it
pull
won't-
the list again? I think there was one.
I have a question for Attorney Gothard.
Yeah, sure.
Would we be able to recommend planning area 1 and ask for another conceptual review at the planning commission of planning area 2 if they like a year down the road, because their goal is to do planning area 1 first, and that's 3 to 5 years out on the other one.
Yeah, I would recommend not doing that just because the nature of your MPDO ordinance is that they have this site plan, right, that includes these multiple planning areas, and they have to show their hand to some extent in these areas. They don't have to show us everything, but they've got to have an idea if they're going to get this giant entitlement from the city, right? Got to have an idea of what they're going to put there. If we break it, and as part of that process, they will actually have to go through the plating process for their initial phase, and it sounds like they plan to do that for the residential phase, so they'll have to do everything for that to get final approval of their MPDO, the entire thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the reason I'm saying probably don't do that now is it contradicts your ordinance. Your ordinance does require them to show a little of what's going to go on in each of these areas. We don't need the level of detail that we would at like a preliminary plat stage, but that is the nature of how it reads is, we go back to that list. There's 2 specifically. So we talk about type and number of residential and non-residential uses. So some information on what's going to go on in that commercial area. And then the next requirement is buildings/facilities involved with these uses. So it's it's tough to just kind of punt it and say, we're going to approve this thing, even though we have no idea what's going on here. Because your code says they got to show their hand a little bit. They've got to at least provide this information. And if they want to change it down the road, they can. They'll have to go through the change process, whatever that is in their development agreement. And like, I'm sympathetic to what they're saying. I understand that they're, not 100% ready to commit to any design, but that's how the ordinance reads.
But I think we're saying we'll do residential if we can't do the amphitheater. So I don't.
And the
New Jersey says you
residential,
can't
it
have an
does show the
alternative.
numbers and the types, but it's not really drawn out as far as,
It's not.
I mean.
Oh, as far as
that's-
like actually putting it down on paper?
Yeah.
Not at this
Is that
stage, no.
that's just a
At the
conceptual.
preliminary stage,
They will have to do it at
it
preliminary.
will be, yeah.
So maybe
I'll
at
check to
this
see what
point,
it
we
looks
just have
like.
to narrow the uses.
Because there's a number 150 and it shows images of townhomes.
That's true.
So that is a number and a type.
Yeah. But it sounds like, okay, I guess my confusion here is,
But it is hard because it's a fuzzy concept because
fuzzy,
we're also
yeah.
talking about an amphitheater, but we have what's in front of us, what's on paper is townhomes, 150 of them.
Well, we're not just talking about an amphitheater, right? We're talking about
Commercial,
commercial, right? So
a
we
lot
have
of different
we
things.
have a hit the mark, get everything that we want with an amphitheater, but the reality is it could be some other form of commercial.
Correct.
Correct? Yeah.
Correct. A good amphitheater there might have a hotel. or
Right.
Something that's part of that,
Right.
or restaurant and food services that are, obviously that's what everybody wants.
It goes hand in hand with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't want to jump ahead, but just to kind of like prepare you for what's coming. So at the preliminary stage, they'll have to show in each of these planning areas a street system and lot design with appropriate dimensions. So we'll kind of have to get an idea of what's going on in that at PA2. And then location of existing and or proposed buildings. So, I mean, we're headed to the same place. It's like, what do we think is going to be in this area, right? As far as just leaving it blank, I don't think that complies with the code.
Would a more narrow allowed use chart that then they have to show on the next one work?
Yeah, it's because this is preliminary, and they did provide a list of,
Well, I think the thing that's, okay, can you flip back to the requirement? Because I just want to make sure I don't misinterpret it. So type, yeah, they provided their proposed use table. And then number, I think that's really what we're missing here is like,
But we did 150 as an alternative. We can put the number of homes if we don't do the amphitheater. We have a number.
Yeah, and that would probably be based on what you put in, right? If you put in restaurants, I'm gonna have less because of parking requirements, other things. Like if I tried to fill that out with restaurants, I wouldn't be able to put that in as much as if I put in retail. It'd be a much bigger retail space than it would be a restaurant because of parking requirements.
And you still only have your allowed ERUs, which depend on what type of use it
Also
is.
based on ERUs would restrict what I can.
And that all affects traffic and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will you be able to have a lot of this information to us at the next meeting and then we get this going out there?
We'll have to have some more conversations with staff because, yeah, like a traffic flow map, traffic can only go in and out one way.
Yeah, see?
well, okay, let
We
me
need
expand
to,
on that though, because traffic flow map, sure, that's pretty straightforward, but you guys also have the discretion to request a traffic study. So if that's something you want to request, you can do that.
And, yeah, but yeah,
But I've done this a lot. That's not, traffic study is an amphitheater is completely different than housing.
True.
yeah, I don't see how they could
So
do
we
a
do
traffic.
that when we actually come with say, okay, before you approve this final use, let's dig into those level of detail. But a conceptual plan, I'm not
Yeah,
used
not
to
a-
it being in this kind of you got to have this and you got to have that. This is unusual for, at least in my experience.
But the conceptual plan, we can't, I don't want to hold you up either. I want you to keep on going through and it costs money and everything else, but I want to do it right. I don't want to have to come back and make changes and everything else. And so I'm just asking if you can get that information for staff within the next meeting, 1st of December. We set up a time, we can take it out there and just show us everything where those boundaries are. I haven't seen that other land that you want to give away, what that looks like. I don't know about Frog Rock and things like that, but that's in BLM, and those are devils in the details. But I know moving the train's going, but sometimes it's hard to slow it down, but I don't want to get ran over. And I think you're on the right track. Personally, your housing, what you have, I'm a little bit worried on the other side. If we go housing, commercial, amphitheater, you throw it out and come back and everything. But did some of those other things that are necessary to meet the code, the ordinances. I understand we're just a recommendation, but we're the ones to go through it deep and everything. And then the city council is the final decision and things like that. And I think this project, I just don't want to get steamrolled over. I do believe it's a good project. I like the project, but I'd like to go out there, kick the dirt with you, and come back at the second meeting in December, and then maybe we'll have the answers that everybody's here and things like that. That's all we're asking. We're asking to work with us. We want to work with you, and that's my thoughts.
And I think if the council were able to do this field trip idea with us too, it would help at their level as well.
Oh, yeah.
As we seek to get a clearer
No, I love the idea.
concept.
I'm curious on the number of things, stuff she was talking about, stuff I was more curious about.
I want to do the field trip. For example, I've stood out there a lot and I thought, if we actually did an amphitheater, you can't have that be public and walk right to the end and put your lawn chair and sit there and watch the concert for free. Right?
Or do you want your razor running in the background?
Or have that the noise. So part of our public use would be during the hours of from 7 to 10 at night on the concert nights, no razors and the barrier, there's a little barrier. You can't cheat. You can't cheat and come and just sit there and listen and watch. Because if you got to the very, very edge, there's quite a distance between Devil's Hole, but when you get right there, boy, you can see right down there. So I thought, okay, the legal description's got to be back a little bit to give that protection. But it's those kind of details we're glad to work through.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think we all really like what you're talking about. We definitely like this subdivision area, the residential stuff. I just think we just need a little more clarification. And we would ask that you would be willing to give us that time and that field trip so that we can all wrap our heads around it more. And us as well as city council, because some of us will be on city council come January.
Congratulations, by the way. Also condolences.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, two of you?
Jenny and I.
Yeah, Jenny and Val.
So, if that, I think that's kind of how all of us are feeling.
And I talked to your city manager about, I would like to do it jointly. I've done that before with the planning commission and the council.
Yeah,
The current
definitely.
members,
Sure.
it's
Oh,
all-
yeah.
it's all
All in one.
Get
That's
together and do
awesome.
it at the same
Yeah.
time and stay.
Well, that way you get everyone's opinions and ideas, and I think that's.
And the open meeting laws allow that for the field trips and
Yes.
be able to
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
figure this
Yeah,
thing
I
out.
think
We
that
can't
would be
take
great.
any action, but we can
No.
get our
Oh, yeah.
questions answered.
Well, and I want to hear feedback.
Right.
We have certain ideas, but you might say, like, I've never heard of the
Right.
frog rocks. That's a new on me.
Yeah, me neither.
And the other side, that green.
Well, thank
But I
you.
think I know
by the
where it is.
district, we may have to have that be part of the amphitheater. So,
Yeah, true.
And hopefully the federal government will cash your check.
yeah, it's the funniest thing. We checked yesterday.
They cost me.
I have this vision that it's sitting on the floor in a pile of letters because there's no one there to open.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
While we're here though, is there anything in this conceptual checklist that you have questions on that they could clarify now? Or do you just generally need more time with it or want to see it first? Because this is a pretty small
That's the
list of
checklist
things
as far
that
as
they need
things
to
that we thought were
fix.
incomplete. If you guys disagree, feel free to say something. If you feel like you want to add to it, you're welcome to. One other piece of feedback I want to give you on the permitted uses table. So our interpretation of how it works is you can pick one of the commercial zones, and then it'd be nice to see like a table that shows like what uses you're asking for that exceed what that zone allows. So like if you modeled this after plan commercial, then like maybe show the permitted uses and plan commercial, and then a separate block that shows, you're asking for an amphitheater too, and that'd be something that planning commission and or the land use authority would have to approve. That way it's just clear and they know what's already allowed in that area versus what would be additional.
I think that's a very helpful suggestion. The only thing I'm going to ask is, because I want to do the amphitheater, some of my partners are like,
Don't.
that's a lot of work, Paul, and I would like to spend the time and the effort to do the work. So don't hold me up if I don't quite know on the amphitheater. That's all I'm asking is, I would like to have it as on the list. I don't want them to say, take it off the list, Paul. Don't even show it.
Yeah.
Because a logical extension, if you don't do the amphitheater, is those cabins of the hotel. They might want to move north, which is another gorgeous possible use and great revenue also from that. They're doing dispersed cabins. So to me, if we're going to do commercial in the area, it's probably going to either be a hotel-like dispersed extension of the existing iconic, it's called Iconic Hotel. They're going around the nation. They want to do hotels in national parks. And this is the Zion National Park. That's their model. They're doing a Yellowstone. This is their Zions, and they're doing a Smoky Mountain, but they want to do 26 of them. Really nice upscale kind of stuff. But that would be really cool too, or the amphitheater combination. But I don't see a lot of other commercial uses besides those two. If we don't do those, it's just going to be more residential.
Yeah, see, that's helpful for us to know
Yeah.
too. Thank you.
And I agree with you. That's a beautiful place for amphitheater.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous and natural. But, concerned about one road in, and does Leeds, that connector that's coming across there, will that,
We have an idea on the road, so
okay, so show us when we go out there.
Yeah.
I will. I would like to not, I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Can we just look at the paper with the yellow highlights one more time?
What I was pointing out too is there's this whole list of what they needed to send, and everything is here besides what's on this paper. So
Okay.
do you
That's
have
why
any
I wanted to
questions
look at that again.
on what they already have? Because these are going to be very small modifications for them to make to bring it back to you. And if they're going to change your decision that much, let's make sure that we're happy with everything else as well.
Madam Chairman, do you want entertain a motion or?
I think, yeah, if no one else, now, you mentioned the traffic, not
Traffic
traffic,
study.
traffic study? No?
Like
The
regional
bus.
traffic plan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want to say anything about that?
No, I don't want, I just want it to be,
The traffic study is
since we're talking about
expensive.
conceptual things, I want it to be in our minds.
It's the devil's of the details for later down.
Yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
that. But others, like you just said, you have an idea of the road. Well, we don't. We haven't seen it or anything, stuff like that. So I think some of that can come out. So
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess is that direction that you'd want them to get a traffic study? Because this is the time for you to provide direction on it, is actually at conceptual.
I think it would depend on, for me, it would depend on what we're putting down there.
Right.
If we're putting an amphitheater, then yes, we would have to have a traffic flow.
So,
For
So
sure.
I think it would make more sense to wait until the next,
Darren?
till preliminary for it. to
So
ask
as far as when it's
traffic.
required,
I'd
it's
like to
actually
see
required
what
at
wasn't
conceptual.
included in the.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
required
So-
in
It's kind of
conceptual?
funky.
So
It's
on
required
the,
now.
Madam Chairman, on the code, I believe it says you may ask for it. It does not say it is
It doesn't say
necessary.
shall.
That doesn't say shall. It
Right.
does say shall.
We can require
But,
one too when they get to the point of developing whichever one of these commercial uses they want
'Cause-
before we would say yes to that.
This is the hard thing for me. They're going to give me a traffic study at a conceptual. It's very in the engineering world. That's a little bit premature.
Right.
I just and the cost, as you know, Dean, is great. And we don't know exactly what they're going to do in that other area, so it really doesn't make much sense to go off of a hypothetical maybe. In my mind.
But we can say that we may want a traffic study depending when they figure out what they are going to do over there,
Yeah,
right?
and I think in
You could do that. And I
preliminary
think Darren
or
brought up a good point, and there is that kind of catch-all in this ordinance where you can impose different standards, and I think we could fit that in under the different standards too. So sorry for the initial no. I'm rethinking and thinking, yes, you could ask for it at a later stage, even though your code allows you to ask for it as early as now.
Yeah, okay,
Well,
but it makes more sense to.
And it gets
ask for it
closer
later.
to when they get
Yes.
farther, and I
Yeah.
understand that, because the traffic study can change, and don't waste money on something that's changing.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I think
When we
we're
issue
all about.
bonds, we will do a traffic study whether you require it of us or
Okay.
not. So yeah, make it a condition in
Yeah.
the future when we know what we're doing, but we'll do it regardless, because
Okay.
we will need it, or we're not going to issue bonds.
Yeah.
Because people expect you to
Yeah.
know where are the cars coming from and how's that going to work.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it comes down to common sense, right? And I think we're all about common sense.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I'm just wondering, like, is this list of things enough to make it worth tabling it? Or could we make it any recommendation subject to these items being included for the city council? And having a
Could they
Field
make,
trip.
a walkabout.
Yeah,
A walkabout.
I think we could approve it subject to those recommendations. Why not? We said
I
we're
think the
about
thing that's a
common-
little bit tough here is like, so it sounds like some additional information has been provided to Emily. It wasn't included in the package just because of
Yes.
timing. And we haven't actually looked at it.
I would like to see those, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I would suggest we
I don't-
table it, we get that information, we go out there, and then get to our next meeting and get this moved along.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
well,
I don't know. Is it a motion?
why are you looking at me? Well, I was leaning toward, if we're about common sense, why not just require these and approve it for now, the beginning part of it?
Yeah.
Instead of holding them hostage for another month.
Well, I think the one thing that's running through my mind is, have we had enough time to do due diligence?
Well, part of the no, it would only be approved subject to the due diligence, like doing the field trip, seeing what's in the packet. But I
So-
guess.
And we're not approving it,
So
we're
why
just
not-
recommending.
Why not just,
Yeah.
why not just wait until we?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the authority to approve it. Only the city council does.
But it will be back very soon again anyways. I mean, this is concept, very high level. It'll be back again, like on your guys' almost next planning commission as soon as city council reviews it. So just a thought. It's going to come back to you guys regardless. This is almost a nothing approval other than, yeah, we like the concept.
Well, it's not a nothing approval because concept is, like, sometimes it's more important than all those final little details. Because if you solve problems earlier, I don't know.
Then they
wanna
don't
call
come
it a
back
nothing.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like there's enough here that, I mean, I could see either way, but I'd probably suggest tabling it.
Attorney, can I ask just one really quick question?
Yes.
So basically, these items right up here are what is lacking to make it a complete application, correct?
Right.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we table it until the information is received satisfactory to staff. We go out there and kick some dirt and then bring it back at our next meeting and see if we can get this moved along. And I recommend that to the city council. Yeah.
Yeah.
table it.
To table, yeah.
Thanks, Emily.
Okay. Do I have a second?
To meet with county code, city code.
I second it. Let's get the information going. Let's go on our field trip. Let's get it done. I like your plan. I appreciate that you want to protect Devil's Hole.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all your work
Yeah.
so far.
Okay, I'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, so moved.
Can we get that, how soon can we get that set up?
Yeah, you'll coordinate with the council and tell us what time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the city council. We'll have to see what the city council wants to do.
Unfortunately, next Monday and Friday, I have 2 different trips to Salt Lake, but other than that, I'm here, so yeah,
Part of the city.
I'll make it a priority.
Not till January.
I know.
Do people have their own vehicle, razors and things to be able to make it up
Probably
there?
have enough
Cornell four-wheel?
We probably have enough, yeah.
Or razors.
I need to hop in with somebody. I don't have one.
Yeah, you can. We got a four-seater.
I have
Okay.
mine. I can get like 3 or 4 of them that are four-seaters if you need me to. so
Okay,
that'd be-
yeah. I think we have enough, probably.
Yeah. I went out there in my Bronco today, with no problem.
Yeah.
I could have took the razor, but she had a dress on.
Okay, so, Emily, will you coordinate that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, can we get it before the next Wednesday or Thursday? 'Cause I have doctors and tests and stuff.
As long as we do it on a day it's not raining, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
raining.
true. It has
It's gonna
to not
rain
be
over-
raining.
So you're thinking as quick as next week? Is that what you're thinking? Oh, okay, like Thursday or Wednesday?
Well, Thursday I need to leave because I have
Yeah.
to test up in Salt Lake.
You have to notice it where?
Since we'll all be together,
Oh,
But you can do
how
that.
long does that have?
24 hours.
24 hours.
Oh,
Okay, all right.
So why don't you see how many, I can do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. He said he can't do Monday.
Monday, I'm
Tuesday or
going
Wednesday.
to fly up north and flying back on Monday. When I say north, Salt Lake, just got to go.
Tuesday and Wednesday would be good for me next week.
I'll send an email to you.
Either one of those days would be good for me too.
I have company that
Yeah.
week,
No kidding.
but I may have to leave them.
It shouldn't take much more than an hour to two.
Oh, yeah. Once you go up that one road right there, and if people have time, I thought of taking them around down into the valley. That's why you need razors, kind of.
Yeah.
Four-wheel can get you there, but it cannot get you
Up and around.
up and around the horseshoe and back down. the
I really don't know what Dean's talking about an hour or two. I was planning on packing a picnic. I want a day.
Have you ever been up there?
Could we shoot for maybe Tuesday, the 18th?
Okay, well, maybe you can send a questionnaire, of what day works better for everyone. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much.
It's hard for me to be away with that.
Thank you.
I'll have to figure it out.
Okay, moving on. Business item E2, discussion and possible approval of a preliminary site plan submitted by Joe Gibb with Maverick on behalf of Desert Sands Development LLC. Okay, Emily?
This is our first commercial site plan for the Boulder Ridge subdivision out there. It's not complete yet, as you saw in the pictures, it's still under construction, but this is just a preliminary site plan for the potential lot 3 out there. So Maverick has submitted that, just kind of for your review and conditional approval based on that subdivision recording, all of the improvements being completed. This application doesn't grant any entitlements, but it gets the process started. So the next step, if we move forward, whether that's before or after recording, would be construction drawings and all of that. This is just an overview of the site plan. This is Jill from Maverick. If you have any questions for her.
I've been very
Or
patient.
Darren or I.
Hi, thanks for hearing about this project tonight. We're excited to bring it in front of you guys. We've been trying to be as patient as possible with this one, but we would like to start moving this through the improvements process so that we can start construction early in the next year. Happy to answer any questions you have about the project or any concerns.
Okay.
I just have one question. On the location, is it going to be like as you're exiting, heading south, where the Tokerville exit is on the
Off Anderson Junction, so
west
on
side?
the west side, yeah.
West side of the freeway?
So in that aerial that they were showing earlier, he highlighted a detention basin that was under construction.
Oh,
It's right next to that. So it's
okay.
right at the entry of this Boulder Ridge subdivision,
that'll
which
be
is
a
a
nice
great spot for
location.
us.
Yeah.
So Boulder Ridge subdivision, you guys approved that number of
Yeah.
months ago. Essentially, there you go. Thank you. So essentially, you can see it's that lot right there, the lot number 3. Lot 4 has a massive detention area
Uh-huh.
because it is taking all of it's basically a regional detention area. All the stormwater drains to that area.
Yeah.
But they're lot 3. So what you're seeing in their plans there, that preliminary site plan is it's all designed on that lot 3.
Nice.
So going south, you get off the freeway and then you take a right.
You take a
Yeah.
right.
Take a right, come straight
out
up
of
there. And
town.
it's basically the first lot.
Yeah.
They're building out there where they've been.
And they notice the entrance cannot be off of Boulder Drive there because of that UDOT requirement of 1,000 feet.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So,
And we are requesting 3 access points, but that's primarily because we don't like to have the commercial vehicles and our regular customers
Yeah.
use the same areas at the site. It becomes uncomfortable and
Congested.
unsafe. And we
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
keep the trucks with the trucks and the other people on the other side.
Yeah.
We do have some spacing requirements we'll have to iron out there.
Okay.
yeah, there's,
That was my only question. I looked it over quite a bit today. I think it looks great.
Thanks.
So I come from the trucking industry. The one thing that I'm concerned about is you've got the lanes for the trucks, but there's no property really for the trucks that are parking. So my concern is what's that going to do to the side streets with trucks coming out, parking, and impeding?
We had looked at a version of this with truck parking. We do not like to include truck parking on our sites. We have 3 30-minute stalls. We are a fueling station by a business, not a truck stop. So we try to maintain that in most of our stores. If the council would like to see truck parking or the planning commission, we're happy to take it back and try and include that. Typically, we do see those 30-minute stalls along with on this, we have, I believe, 5 lanes, 6 islands for the commercial, typically sufficient. We do at times have trucks that'll sit on the edge of our sites. So we put up no parking signs and our adventure guides are pretty diligent about getting them to get a move on.
Okay. The 2 concepts, 2 stores that I felt like you guys did great when it came to the CMVs was your Beaver Dam location
Okay.
and your North Vegas right off of Tropical. Those 2
yeah.
locations I think were done well for CMVs.
If this store could perform like Trop Christie, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I would get a raise.
I think you're going to have it.
This is more like Fillmore.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I would
Fillmore's
love to have another
Fillmore's
Tropical
way
in
bigger than
Christie.
this.
Oh, Fillmore.
Fillmore's bigger than
It's
this.
bigger. Any other questions?
That's it for me.
so in the packets, my comments were in there. Because anyway, there was just a few, but those are stuff that we will work out engineeringly wise. So the site might change a little bit from what this is, but it's generally going to stay the same. That's just because of our standard and specs.
Right.
And it hasn't been through JUC or anything like that. So none of those comments are in there, but those we would iron out as needed at those next steps before we would have a final site plan approved.
One thing I would kind of ask too is that any approvals be conditional upon Boulder Ridge finishing.
Yeah, at this
finishing and
point,
and
there
recording
isn't
their
even
plat.
a lot we can purchase.
Yeah,
So we're,
exactly. So what we're seeing here is something that doesn't exist as of yet as far as boundary. So there's some, and
Yeah.
on
thanks for
Maverick
bringing them.
side, in order to get it into our next build schedule, we really have to start getting through approvals in this year. So we're trying to, catch that
yeah.
corporate finance release for the next year.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have a lot of stores.
Agreed.
And we think it's going to be a great addition to Tokerville. I mean, it's nice to have 2 gas stations because then you compete.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Does the area that they included for their project site, does that match like the lot on the
Yeah.
Boulder Ridge plat?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've taken it, basically they're in their plans.
Right there.
They've taken them from the construction drawings that were created for Boulder Ridge subdivision.
Yeah, everything that's shown on the plans is per the construction documents that they sent over. They sent us CAD. We based everything off of that.
Yeah. So a lot of that, so you do know that it basically comes to you guys for approval at preliminary, and staff continues to push it through from here on out. So
Is there
Unless
any,
anybody has any problem, I approve it so far.
is there any, this looks like all
Engineering.
parking lot and cement. Is there any landscape plan for it in the future or
We haven't,
concept?
I don't believe that was part of the submittal.
It's not required
requirements.
at preliminary, it's required
Okay.
at final.
Okay.
Okay.
But yes, we will. We have that commercial design standards that we follow.
Great.
And
I think I may have included concept elevations in the package, but I mean, you guys know what our stores look like.
Yeah, there are in that.
They're the newer, it's the newer elevations.
This is
so.
a very clear concept.
Yeah,
Thank you
it
for
is.
these nice,
Yeah,
It
this
is.
fully fleshed out plans.
I think it looks like it's going to be.
We've done this a few times.
This actually,
Yeah.
We
can tell a few times,
built
right?
48 year.
Yeah.
Just a couple.
I don't have any more questions. I'm ready.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna,
there it is.
Or go ahead.
okay. I move to approve the preliminary site plan for the Maverick Convenience Store and Gas Station and future Lot 3 of Boulder Ridge, contingent upon compliance with staff comments, commercial design standards, JUC review, and all applicable Tocqueville city standards and specifications, with development of the site contingent upon recording of the subdivision final plat.
I second that.
Okay, the vote?
Nay.
Aye.
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 Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And it looks like, I
Okay,
think she printed the original, not the amended agenda, so we do have number 3. You should have that. Yeah, but I don't know if the ones in front of you have that on there.
That's not on mine either.
And I do apologize. This was a very last minute addition. It's a discussion only, so I can kind of lead the conversation and we can just kind of take it casually. It's not intended as there's no action requested here.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Is that did you open the most recent? Or is that the original?
emailed, but it's.
Yeah, just reopen that. So the conversation this evening, this agenda item is related to an annexation petition that we anticipate coming down the pipe here in the next meeting, in the December meeting. And I wanted to make Planning Commission aware of this because it's such a significant action. It's similar, I mean, we've already handled a major land use decision this evening related to an MPDO. An annexation is maybe even a step beyond that, as this is an area not currently within the city boundaries. So I just had a very kind of overview of what we want to think about when we're looking at an annexation, and then I'll get into the details of this specific application. I didn't invite the applicant this evening simply because I wanted to have a less formal conversation about this project. So as in just a very high level overview. So typically in a normal annexation, this is an area that's going to be an unincorporated county, and a developer will come to the city and say, we're not able to get to the development standards that we would like with the county, because counties are typically more rural oriented. They don't provide the same services that a municipality does. Once you get into higher density development, that's more appropriate for a city to undertake because we're providing these services locally. This case is a little bit different, and I'll get into that here in a minute. But generally in an annexation, the city has some leverage to achieve favorable outcomes for a development. Basically, if we have standards that we want the development to meet, we can include those in the agreements that come as part of an annexation. So initially, there's occasionally a pre-annexation agreement, a development agreement, possibly a PDO or an MPDO. And all of this process is outlined in both state code and city policy. So why consider an annexation? It doesn't necessarily benefit a community to constantly go into expansion, but there is also a critical mass that happens with cities. It's beneficial for all of the residents to continue expanding the tax base and the economic opportunity that exists in a community. I think that kind of summarizes some of the reasons that a city may consider an annexation. The area that we will be discussing this evening and in the next meeting is within our annexation map, future annexation map. And another reason is that, these developments will be, if they exist outside of the municipality, will be adjacent to the community. So it allows Tocqueville City in this case to have some influence into what that development looks like. It's also an extension of municipal services and infrastructure. So sometimes you'll see an annexation that's like connecting to disconnected areas, and it makes a lot of sense, or closing peninsulas or islands. In this case, that's not what we're looking at. But there are some key policy considerations that are worth mentioning. So a lot of times in an annexation, you'll want to identify what the points of negotiation are. What is it that we can ask for? In some, say in a city, you may be looking at like height allowances. You know, they want taller buildings. Or in this case, in a residential development, you're looking at density. What density requirements is the developer asking for? And we're also looking at how it aligns with the general plan and our current annexation plan and map. Does it maintain or enhance the existing character of the community? And does it align with future growth projections? Are there other considerations, trail, networking? Like, what do we want to accomplish in this geographical area if we allow the annexation? So I did want to talk briefly about a pre-annexation agreement, because this is likely one of the tools that we'll be using with this, or proposing with this developer. So a pre-annexation agreement is not required per our annexation policy. What it does is it clarifies the expectation of both the developer and the city as they move forward with an annexation petition. So this is, pre-annexation agreement can be a conditional approval. It essentially gives no entitlement to development. What it does is says, if the annexation is approved, this is what the development will look like. So it's very important. I don't want to downplay the importance of this pre-annexation agreement. But by and large, you still have to approve the annexation. The annexation itself is the decision to allow this property to come within the municipal boundaries. Again, that last point is just that it's a conditional approval. And because of the way the pre-annexation is worded as it relates to underlying zoning and density allowances, it will follow the same process as actually zoning the land. So you have to do public hearings, you have to do all of this, even though it's technically just a conditional approval. In your email, again, I sincerely apologize. This was very last minute. It was as I was driving last night, we decided that it would be beneficial for the commission to hear about this and have kind of a month to think about it before it's actually on the table. So we did provide a draft of a pre-annexation agreement. And I did want to put the qualification that this hasn't undergone legal review. Bruce and Kayla haven't seen it. And there are some known deficiencies with it. The developer hasn't seen it yet. This is essentially just kind of a staff-driven document at this point, but it does hit some of those key highlights of what the city might want to be seeing with it. And now to get into kind of the real crux of the conversation. This is the Nevada-shaped parcel, if you're familiar with it. So with Boulder Ridge kind of being in the top right of this image, that's Anderson Junction. So if you follow southwest along Mills Lane, you end up, this is the zoning map, green and red. And then the parcel outlined in yellow is about 200 acres. The interesting situation here, like I mentioned, a lot of times a developer will get better, more favorable outcomes by annexing into a city. That's the traditional path for an annexation. This is actually significantly different in that the county's been working with the developer in order to develop some more, it's a higher density development that will be available to, I hesitate to use the word, there's no subsidies proposed here, but it's kind of lower cost housing on the more affordable spectrum. And the county is viewing this as a potential to relieve some of the housing pressures in the county. And that's why they're taking a little bit of a different approach that you don't normally see with counties, in that they're willing to put a high density development in this parcel. And so the situation that Toquerville City is now placed in is that our hands are a bit tied, because they've already vested 75 residential units at this higher density than even most of our residential zoning zones allow for. It's noteworthy that the house is here. So the city could, I just want to make this perfectly clear, the city could deny the annexation petition, and the development will very likely move forward as designed at 7 units per acre and 10% short-term rental units. It's not fully vested. They don't have full entitlement to this currently, but they do have vested for the 75 residential units. there's a lot of history to that. It goes back to the Conservancy District. The city petitioned the Conservancy District to pause future development entitlements until the cities had the opportunity to consider an annexation petition. So basically, this developer is kind of in a holding pattern in order for the city to contemplate whether or not it makes sense to take this area on as an annexed area within the city. So there's the first bullet point is what they're currently entitled to. The second bullet point there is this, what I just called assured entitlement. It's basically what's been promised to the developer after they've gone through the petition process with Toquerville City. So it's anticipated, not voted on yet, not formally entitled, 7 units per acre, and 10% of the units as short-term rentals. So at 200 acres, the entitlement is right around 1,400 units and about 150 units of short-term rentals. Those are rough numbers, but it is a more dense development than what we've considered in the past. And one of the concerns that I have for the city is that all of these units will be using Toquerville infrastructure. They'll be using the roads, using the streets. They'll be patronizing Maverick. All of these things, it will be as if this is part of the Toquerville community. The question is whether or not it makes sense for Toquerville to annex this area. So one of the key things that we incorporated into this pre-annexation agreement, and the developer's actually already working towards, is having a third-party economic analysis for this financial impact. And what this basically means is a typical residential kind of lower density development really isn't self-sufficient. Half-acre properties don't pay for the services in the long term. It doesn't pay for the replacement of the asphalt just simply through property taxes. And so what we've asked the developer to do is go in and have an economic analysis, this fiscal impact analysis done to determine if the benefit gained to the city through an annexation would be revenue positive, neutral, or negative. The reality is if this analysis turns out that it would be revenue negative to the city, there would be no reason for the city to consider it. We just let the county have it and let the county deal with providing municipal services on the edge of the county boundaries, right? It's really would kind of just not be our problem at that point. There are some non-financial benefits that could be gained. I haven't looked at the county's ordinances side by side with the cities to look at things like dark sky protections, parks and trails, and again, this kind of critical mass of services that we'll be providing. So I just kind of wanted to open it up as we start having this conversation. We've been in communication with this developer for a couple months now, and one way or the other, there will be an annexation petition coming before you. The reason for that is because the Conservancy District won't provide additional retail water service to this area until we have either denied or approved an annexation petition. After that point, the Conservancy District has said, well, if they deny it, they will be the retail water provider. If we approve it, then in that case, of course, we would be the retail water provider. So I think that was about all that I had. There are a couple next steps. Most likely what we'll see is in the next meeting in December, we'll see a pre-annexation agreement proposal that's a little bit more vetted, has gone through legal review, has been reviewed by the developer. After that, and that pre-annexation agreement would say, okay, this is how we get to that 7 units per acre that they would be getting with the county. After that, we would see an annexation petition and then likely a development agreement, unless we find a way to accommodate that development by right, which is unlikely, I think. But so we'd probably see in the coming months those 3 components of an annexation petition. So I'm kind of happy to open this up to conversation and just talk about it.
So has the city done a study or did a plan? At what point with the growth we have happening here, which is way higher than a 12% growth, which is normal 4 to 5, 7, at what point are we going to have our own fire stations, our own police department, and start providing, because lower debts, lower costs are usually families and everything, which I have tons of them, kids, grandkids. At what point then are we going to have to provide schools too within the area? And so there's a trigger point somewhere where we're going to fall off the cliff. And then when you add another 1,800 and we already have planned 4,800 over here and another 45, and then put another 2,000 on top of that, plus what we have. Have we done a study, or do we even know where that's going? And then another question I have, can you go back and kind of really tell me where this land is?
Oh, yeah, of
Is
course.
it by far above, north of Firelight? Or is it-
Darren can probably describe best
Is this Clay
exactly.
Mills?
It's
the Mills old house.
It's the old mill. Okay. So it's to the north of their private drive?
No, it's the Mills house.
It is.
It includes part of that.
Whose, I don't know who.
Anyway, so it's down, basically, if for some of you that remember that were here, it's it's that park, the soccer parks.
the sports complex.
Yeah, the sports complex that was proposed.
Oh.
It's the same property as that. The sports went away,
If
the
you-
people, that sports complex went away completely. And these are the people that lent them the money to do the
Still don't
sports
know where that's
complex.
at.
So if you're coming
Here's
down
a map.
I-15 from the north and you turn right into the whole Boulder,
Boulder
where
Ridge.
Maverick's gonna be, and then you turn left and go south
Correct.
a little ways.
Parallel.
It's a little ways down there.
So it's on the other side of the freeway?
Yes.
On the other side of the
Over there where those water tanks are? The water
Keep
tank?
going past the
Where
water
there's
tanks. You'll see a couple of driveways if you're driving there right before you get to Leeds exit,
So-
and that's where it's at.
They used to have a juniper that was always lit with Christmas lights during the Christmas season. I don't know if you remember that.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
You
So-
remember that?
yeah.
yeah,
You can
that
see
was
it.
the
That was kind of
Mills.
fun.
So it's on the other side of Leeds and.
Yeah, it's on the,
Silver, what is Silver?
Yeah, north of Silver.
it's just north of Silver Reef. So if you go driving through the Silver Reef
So
subdivision,
we
you'll see it.
Have service water clear up there?
They just
I mean,
put it in
they'd
the
be
column.
providing that, yeah, via the Cotton Well.
Yeah.
They actually did a project not too long ago. If you remember, I talked about the Cotton de Casa project. It brought water from the Cotton Well down to and underneath the freeway right there where that entrance is will be to this subdivision or this property.
Ben, is it all residential? There's no commercial?
Residential and short-term rentals.
Okay.
So the short-term rentals is probably going to be one of those things that makes it revenue positive to the city because of the TRT that it brings in.
But
Ooh, what an island.
short-term rentals are maxed out right now. I happen to know. Like,
Yeah.
What do you mean
Yeah.
by maxed out?
Well,
You
there's a
think
lot
the
of
market
people in
is
the area.
saturated?
Yeah, it's
Is that what you're
saturated.
saying?
That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
There's a lot of people in the area with short-term rentals, a lot of short-term rentals actually on the market right now for sale because they're not,
They're
the
saturated.
past couple of years, they haven't been able to bring in enough.
Yeah. And this model's been done, and the proposal is a centrally managed short-term rental unit. So there's one management company that owns it. So as a buyer, you buy in. It's similar to the model if you've been down to Long Valley, where there's a portion of short-term rentals. And so they're all managed by the same company. It kind of provides for more continuity.
So is this the
Well, I'm
same
sure they're managed
company?
well, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Is this the same people that tried to put the ballpark in?
No.
No, it was it hasn't transitioned to ownership, but they lent the money to those folks, and now they're developing it themselves.
Basically re-pulling it back.
They did, yes.
They re-pulled it back from them defaulting.
So it's an interesting concept. Ultimately, it's the decision of the city to just say yes, this makes sense for the city, or no, it doesn't.
Ben, I'm concerned that you have just this island of high density housing that is then low income. And I don't know what that looks like, 10, 15 years down the road.
Yeah. One interesting thing is
Imagine
that
Detroit.
by annex, not that I'm advocating for this, by annexing that, the city retains a little bit more control of that. With this being unincorporated county, there's not as much interest in that maintenance. You know,
But we
things
don't
like
have to
code
provide
enforcement.
Services either.
Yeah.
And you guys are sure, maxed out in governmental.
I'm not sure we could count on the revenue, honestly.
Well, that's what the study is supposed to show, correct?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
correct, yeah.
And the idea is that the developer would pay for it. So I think really the question that's on the table from a legal perspective is this is probably going forward whether or not we
Yeah.
annex it, right? It's going to be here. So the question is, do we want it within Tokerville's municipal bounds? Does it make sense from a financial perspective? Or is it a thing where it doesn't make any sense? It wouldn't be a net positive for us
Yeah.
from a financial perspective.
So how soon are they going to have that study done? Do you know?
Yeah, the company that they engaged with to do this anticipates completing it within the next month and a half.
Oh, wow.
Pretty quickly.
What worries me is the question of water again. And the Conservancy saying, hey,
Yeah.
let us know or go to the city of Torqueville to get your water and services. And man, that's a big mistake that this state's doing. They're not providing will serve, making sure there is water available and not just approving more and more houses. When they've already got 90,000 houses approved in this county and not built, and we don't even have the water for that, and then we're on more, I don't know. I'm really concerned about the water.
Me too. The other thing that concerns me is if this study's not done for a month and a half, then, and if they're coming before us next month, asking for annexation, we're not going to have the information.
No, that's exactly right. What would be before you next month would be the pre-annexation agreement, which contemplates the requirement for the fiscal impact analysis.
Okay.
And then it would just simply have to be done before the annexation petition.
Okay. That
Yeah,
makes
but
sense.
legally, I've been in here too long where you say, okay, we'll look at it, and then it gets denied, and then a developer comes back and sues, says, hey, you already said you'd look at it. And I've had to fight 30 years of projects that we said we'd look at, and then they come in and sue, and then they win and say, well, you said you'd look at it, now you have to work with it.
Yeah, I would say that the pre-annexation agreement requires it, so they'd be agreeing to it once that's executed. But I really anticipate it being done. It could be done before it's even in front of you for a pre-annexation agreement. So, and if you wanted to table until that was complete, there'd be no harm in that.
But either way, they'll be using our roads to get to that.
Either way, there
Right,
is some level of
Yeah.
impact that whether or not, if we receive revenue to cover the cost of maintaining that road or not. But that said, if it's revenue, if we find that it's revenue negative to the city, I'd
Right.
still recommend, not
Yeah.
accepting
Right.
the annexation.
Yeah.
So it also takes the traffic studies that we did for Boulder and everything else, and they split and they go that way to Leeds, or they come back already on an intersection that we see accidents constantly blocking the road. And
Just so you know, this development will not go through Leeds as of right
so
now.
they'll come double back
Yeah.
and come
Yeah.
to exit
Exactly.
27.
And
Yes.
did they include that in the traffic study for
Yes,
Boulder Ridge?
they did. So Solara actually had a traffic study done. And that's one of the things that Boulder Ridge piggybacked off of that one, as well as Sapp Brothers. So all of them use the same engineer.
The thing we have to keep in mind too is that we're not deciding whether or not this is going to happen.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
sounds
we
like it's
know
going
that.
to happen.
Yeah, we know that.
We're
But it's one
just
step
deciding
forward.
whether or not we have control of it or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
The boundaries in yellow, is that Water Conservancy that owns
That's
that?
BLM.
That's BLM.
Correct.
So the blue is Water Conservancy?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Is this what you call it, trying to come back and get his low density when we wouldn't approve it and it was an industrial park?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I'm just asking.
Who's the developer?
Is this
by the
a-
way?
I think it's a
voted
different
for that.
developer.
It is a completely different person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not even closely related
Not
to
doing
that.
the end around us,
No.
but it's the same concept, so we turned him down.
Yeah.
Well, another one was a very high water use.
But we
Yes.
can't control that because it's the county right now and it's already being
Yeah, but
built.
then we don't have to provide services to it either.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Well, I
it's
appreciate that,
interesting.
bringing that forward.
Yeah,
The
thanks
study
for
will
your
Nice
be
time.
conversation.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
thank you, Ben.
study will be
One other thing I'd like to add is I think you could draft this, so you could wait for the study. You could also draft this pre-annexation agreement in a way that you're not bound. I mean, that's essentially how it's drafted now, is that these are the conditions under which we would consider this. We still retain the discretion to approve or deny it. So essentially saying, we're going to look at the financial impact study. If we don't like it, we still reserve the right to deny it. I think that's perfectly
So
reasonable.
did we get this paperwork? I didn't see it.
No.
Pre-annexation agreement?
It was that last minute email. It was like yesterday. Late.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't, not asking you to make any decisions on it. It's just kind of a
Yesterday morning.
heads up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, so. Okay,
We can get you, make sure you get it.
can I make a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
Second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Dean. She still has control.